Have you ever thought that why some companies dominate the industries while other disappears in few years? The reason behind this is core competencies and strategic fit. In today's lecture, we will be discussing about core competencies and strategic fit, and we will also discuss how in the age of AI, as a business student, as a business professional, as a business owner, you can learn these core competencies. Thank you. So this is our 40th lecture in 100 series for individuals, professionals and businessmen, that the core business concepts that will help them in life to be a better person, to be a successful person and a wealthy person. Uh, Core competencies were first time introduced by C.K. Prahalad and Hamel in 1990s, and core competencies are unique strength of an organization that differentiate it from others. They provide the sustainable competitive advantage. What is core competency? Core competency means a collective learning capability of the organization, and it is difficult for the competition to understand that, and if they understand it, it is difficult for them to compete with it. Core competency basically provides access to multiple markets, to the multiple segments, and it adds significance to the customers by adding value for them. So the core competency, what we get in the organizations, in the individuals, it is about when they know how to work as a team. When everybody brings the best on the table, then it becomes a core competency. And if your organization, if you yourself, as with your colleagues, with your teammates, can have this thing, that becomes a core competency which is difficult to compete. Three tests for the core competency. Do you have the core competency abilities or not? You need to have three tests. First is provide access to wide variety of the markets. If it gives you access, then you have that ability. Contribute significantly to the customer benefits. If it is giving benefits to the customer, then you have the core competence. Difficult for the competitors to copy. So if we see the Apple, Amazon, the Toyota, these companies have core competencies. This is the reason they're surviving from decades. And core competencies versus competitive advantage, these two are different things. Core competency is about internal capability, internal compatibility, internal synergy creation, while the competitive advantage is about the market outcome. And competencies enable the sustainable advantage. So sometimes because of the markets, as the war is going on, something is going on, companies pop up, but when the competition realize that they do not have internal capabilities, they are not synchronized, then they do not have a core competency. Eventually these kind of companies disappear. So examples of the core competency, we can say Apple, design and ecosystem integration. We can see Toyota, they have lean manufacturing excellence. We can see Google, they have data analytics and AI algorithm. We can see Amazon, they have logistics and cloud infrastructure. Core competency versus distinctive competence. So somebody might be thinking that what is distinctive competence, how it is different from the core competence. Core competence is internal strength. Distinctive competence is recognized by the market superiority. So it is something that emerge from the competition. Strategic fit is extremely important thing in our this lecture. Strategic fit refers to the alignment between the strategy and the environment. Ensures that the internal capabilities match external opportunities, and it improves the organizational performance. So types of the strategic fit are basically three: external fit, alignment with market conditions; internal fit, it is alignment among the resources and the activities. The strategic alignment kind of combines these two, external fit and the internal fit. Remember, we made one video on the strategic management where it talked about the environment, the external factors, the internal factors, the organizational value factors, and then the decisions. If they are made by ensuring that the external factors are also taken care of, internal factors are also taken care of, strengths, weaknesses are taken care of, then company eventually made better decisions which are strategic fit. So internal fit needs to be explained. Internal fit is basically consistency among strategy, structure, culture and systems. All activities, sport, competitive positioning, no internal conflict is the objective of the. As we have explained that core competencies are internal capabilities, but they must be aligned with the external fit. When we talked about the Porter five forces analysis, we have a complete lecture where we talked about the power of the bargainers, the power of the suppliers, the market situation. So environmental scanning is compulsory for the core competencies fitness. External fit. Strategic fit and value chain. All activities reinforce each other. Uh, in the strategic fit, operational fit improves cost efficiency. Strategic fit enhances the. We are aware of the resource based view, where in the perspective of the resource based, that the human capital is a resource in an organization, the assets are resource, but still the core competencies slightly explain it in VRIN method, VRIN framework we can also call it, that the resources must be valuable, rare, immutable, and non-substitutable. When it comes to the human resource, when it becomes an asset, it's non-substitutable. When the companies build the core competencies, they must meet the VRIN criteria. So let us see the VRIN criteria in more detail because it needs an explanation. We mean valuable, that any competency that adds the value for the company, for the customers, bring more profit. Second is rare, that is not widely possessed. So we can say in resource based view that any asset is a resource, but in VRIN method, when we say rare, it means that only our company has it, our company only owns it. So the other thing is immutable, that is difficult to copy, something that is strategic. And the last one is non-substitutable, non-substitutable, that means there is no alternative available. So this VRIN framework makes the company's strategic fit. Sometimes the companies become strategic misfit, and it happens when the capabilities do not match the environment. For instance, we can say the Ford was producing highly competitive, what we say safe cars, but they were not fuel efficient. And all of a sudden, the market demanded the fuel efficiency, and Fords were out of the business. When companies not fit with the environment strategically, that leads to the poor performance, and ultimately it requires restructuring and repositioning. Now that we understand how much important core competencies are and what are the core competencies, we must focus on building the core competencies. The companies must invest in research and development. There is no way that you develop something innovative, something rare, that is difficult to copy without research. So research is must. Secondly, the companies must encourage the organizational learning so that employees all the time think about making something extremely important for the organization. And fourthly, what we can say, the human capital must be developed, they must be trained. There's complete lecture of core concept of human resource management. And lastly, the companies must protect the intellectual property, because that is the core thing where the internal capabilities, where the core competencies come from. So coming towards the next thing, so what companies develop the core competencies, they must look for the diversification so that they fit in the strategic fit. So what they can do, they can make the related diversification going into the field that is relevant to them. For instance, IBM collaboration with the Microsoft, for instance, collaboration of the Apple with the relevant AI related companies, OpenAI working with Microsoft, merging with Microsoft. So that is the diversification that when the Microsoft went to the OpenAI, so it fits there. That is a related diversification. So unrelated diversification may weaken the synergy. So you must do the diversification always where two things are creating value for you. The synergy improves overall performance. What can be the core competencies for the companies in the age of AI? AI capabilities as new core competency can be the core competency of the companies. Data driven decision systems, useful decisions that support the companies to grow. Digital transformation in the age of AI can be a core competency, and innovation driven in advantage is a core competency of the companies in the age of AI. For the students, they must be able to define the core competencies, explain the test method, link the RBV and VRIN, and explain strategic fit with the example. This is what student must understand. The real world must understand the examples, the illustrations that are bringing core competencies. For example, Tesla battery technology is their core competency. So no one is can meet them. This is something they have rare, and this copy is difficult to make. Strategic fit between innovation and EV market demand. This is the reason the Tesla comes into being, and alignment drives the global expansion. And common mistakes people make it while doing the strategic fit, they confuse the resources with competencies, overestimate the internal strengths, they ignore the environmental shift. These are the common mistakes people make. And managerial implications of the core competencies, that identifying and nurturing core strengths. Whenever you identify that these are your core strengths, you must nurture those, ensure alignment across business units, regularly assess the strategic fit, and adopt the technological disruption. This is core thing. Ignoring technology will eventually make you misfit. Discussion questions which you can tell me in the comment section if you understood this lecture is: core competencies can become obsolete. Can they become obsolete? How does AI reshape this strategic fit? And is diversification always beneficial? See you in the next lecture. The core things we took from this lecture is that the core competencies drive sustainable advantage, strategic fit ensures alignment, RBV explains the internal strengths, and in the AI era, demand capability renewal. See you in the next lecture. Thank you.